Things are about to go green, guys. How you doing? So, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new talents and bonuses on the 4 sets being added in on April 12th. And I also have some predictions and recommendations towards the best combinations with these gear sets. Yes, you can combine them for a few different builds. So, what's up? My name is Poe, and if you're new here and you enjoy Division content, click the subscribe button. That way you can fast travel back to the channel anytime you like. So let's just get started breaking these down. The Striker's Battlegear. This is for the more aggressive, physical fighter. If you got 2 pieces of this set together, you're going to earn 20% enemy armor damage. Note to you guys, if you did not know, this is only impacting the NPCs, so the PvE side of things. This is not going to impact the players at all. If you're wearing 3 pieces of this set, you get 100% critical hit damage. That's a lot of damage, guys. That's huge, especially for people that run pulse and use submachine guns. Now, the 4th one, which is the completion of a set, will grant you a unique talent. On this one, we get the shooter talent. Every consecutive hit deals 1% more damage. Stacks up to 100%. Missing shots drops the bonus by 2%. Bonus is reduced by 1% every second. Normally, people are going to look at this and just completely overlook one major word, and that is consecutive. It's not every hit deals 1%, it's consecutive. This perk is going to be awesome for PvE, and not that great for most PvP engagements. I'll talk about that in the future. Let's talk about the Path of the Nomad. This is for the solo player inside the Dark Zone, and I believe the majority of ways to earn this will probably be inside of the Dark Zone, be it from vendors, supply drops, so on and so forth. When you get 2 pieces, the first bonus grants you 50% scavenging. That increases the quality of the items that drop. Seeing as how solo players can't really kill as quick, they have less opportunities to loot, at least with this, the loot has a better chance to be stronger and more useful. When you get 3 pieces of this on, you earn 20% health on kill, which is huge for a solo player. Not the most valuable thing in the world, even though it is good for team play, but I believe this only activates when you are the person to put the last shot into the enemy. So that's great for solo play. Now, when you get the entire set collected with 4 pieces, the talent you earn is called Nomad. When receiving fatal damage, you are instead healed to full health. Can occur once every 10 minutes. Let's be real about it. This is the only defensive set out there. The only thing that grants survivability, which means it's going to be great for the more challenging PvE activities and phenomenal for the solo player. Next up, we have the Tactician's Authority. Have 2 pieces of this set, you earn 4,000 skill power. 3 pieces, you get 20% skill haste, which is basically cooldown. And when you have the full set, you earn the Tactician's Authority talent. Every 60,000 damage your group deals adds 1% skill power to yours for a max of 100% bonus. Bonus is reduced by 1% every second the group isn't dealing damage, but let's be real, in PvE and even some PvP, damage is going to be flowing. With 4 different people only needing to activate, this thing is not going to degrade in action. It's just not going to happen. It's only going to scale for the most part. So that's a really, really interesting talent. This overall has a lot of confusion and a lot of rifts in the community because there's obviously the skill cap and a lot of other things limiting it. This set is pretty much just allowing people to build more stamina or more firearms while still achieving that skill power max. So it's not technically adding towards the damage that you're capable of, but it's giving you the freedom to actually do more with other options, talking about using your guns and of course surviving better, which is fine in my opinion. It's still a buff, it's going to take a little bit of rework for people to understand exactly how to build this right. Last of the 4 sets, we have the Sentrys Call. Got 2 pieces of this and you are granted 30% headshot damage right off the bat. That's huge for PvP and PvE. The 3rd piece will grant you 20% damage to elites, which is obviously PvE oriented. The 4th and final grant you the Stalker talent. Headshots mark the enemy, increasing the damage inflicted on the target by 15% for a duration of 10 seconds each. A target can receive up to 3 marks, meaning, if my math is correct, that's up to 45% at a given time. This should work with all sorts of weapons, so it's not strictly for the marksman player. If this talent works the way that I think it's going to, in most games that have this marking element or this highlighting element, not only does it increase the damage done to that target, it also highlights it for the entire party. So if I highlight a certain person or mark them, everybody in my party knows that that person is going to receive more damage, and it's basically putting a target or a bounty on that person's head, and everybody's going to focus that specific target. So in PvP or PvE, if you are marked, you are going to be melted, and that's going to be awesome if it actually works that way, and I fully expect it to. So, now that you know a little bit about the gear sets, their strengths, their weaknesses, I want to talk about the best combinations, because as you know, to complete a full set, you only need 4 pieces. That leaves 2 more slots of armor that you can fill, and if you have 2 other pieces of another set, you can plug that in and have all kinds of different combinations to fit your playstyle. The first combination, and the one that I consider best for PvP DPS, is the 4 Strikers set, 2 Sentrys Call. And this is because you are granted the shooter talent, you get the 100% critical hit damage, and you also grant the 30% headshot damage. This is huge. This is going to optimize a lot of damage output. Now, I previously mentioned that the talent shooter is not that great for PvP. I'm going to go back and elaborate a little further. Now, this talent grows as you land consecutive shots. Not just hits in general, but consecutive shots. And for every time you miss, you lose 2%. Every time that a second goes by, you lose another stack. So there are a lot of ways for you to go backwards with this talent. So the only way to go forwards is landing a whole lot of shots in a row without missing, because the moment you miss is the moment you break the chain. Consecutive basically means an ongoing pattern, a continuing chain. So let's break this down into numbers for you guys. So my first shot in the mag, I hit. It hits for the regular base damage because it's the first shot. It's not consecutive, it's the beginning point. So the second shot hits, that's 1% harder. Third shot hits, 2% harder. 4th shot hits, 3% harder. 5 shot hits, 4% harder. We're going to throw a curveball in. The 6th shot misses. So we're already at a 4 stack, and because I missed, we go backwards 2. Now we're sitting at 2%. My 7th shot hits. It doesn't go higher right here. It's not going up to 3% because it's not a consecutive shot. It's starting all over again. So missing shots is extremely punishing. So now, when I hit the 8th shot, then we're back up at 3%, and we're starting to scale again. So that talent is very, very confusing. So for PvE, when things often stand still, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage with this thing. But for PvP players that can roll around, make you miss shots a lot, it's really not going to be the greatest thing in the world. Now, the PvE DPS combo. You got 4 Sentrys and 2 Strikers, basically the opposite of the PvP one. You're granted the Stalker talent, which we've explained why it's so phenomenal. Now, you're also granted a lot of PvE NPC additional damage. You're getting 20% enemy armor damage and 20% damage to elites on top. You're now hitting them 40% harder with this combination. Plus, you get the 30% headshot damage granted from the 3rd piece of the Sentry set. This is a lot of potential damage on PvE enemies. Not the greatest for PvP, but PvE, if you're trying to speedrun challenges or anything like this, this is the way to go. Now to the other side of PvE, the Incursion combo. 4 path and 2 Tacticians Authority is the way to go. You're granted the Nomad talent, which is reviving, which is huge for Incursions. And this is because Incursions are not forgiving. The moment your team wipes, you have to start all over from scratch. It may not be that easy for a lot of people, and if your whole team is rocking this out, that's a lot of second chances you guys are granted throughout the duration of the Incursion. So this is like a must run in my honest opinion, and we know that Incursions are pretty much going to be the end game for PvE for right now. You're also granted 50% scavenging with the Nomad set and 20% health on kill. As I mentioned before, the health on kill is only useful when you put the last bullet into the NPC, so this won't activate a whole lot of the time for you, but it will happen and it will help you with your survivability. And you also get granted 4,000 skill power on top with that Tacticians. This is going to grant you stronger healing, more survivability, and that definitely comes into play too inside of Incursions. As for the people that like to build tank, those that are in love with the armor and the stamina builds, this is going to be phenomenal. You want to run the same thing that you do for Incursions, even for PvP. So the 4 path of the Nomad and the 2 Tacticians Authority. You get the Nomad talent, which if you've ever had to chase down like 120k stamina full armor person, you know that it's going to take 2 or 3 people to drop that guy. If he can just come straight back to life, you have to do the chase all over again. A second chance is going to be huge. The 4,000 skill power is going to allow you to regenerate a larger portion of your health, so you get to survive even better as a tank. The 50% scavenging is cool, but obviously not necessary, and the 20% health on kill is great. If you are a tank and you're running around in the dark zone and people are chasing you, literally just go ahead and drop a couple adds and you're going to regen on top of that. So this is a really interesting build. I'm curious to see how this works. Now, over to the solo side of things. It's no shock that Path of the Nomad set is required for this. You get that Nomad talent, so revive if you do get picked off. The health on kill is going to work every time you kill an NPC, which is so essential to a solo run inside the dark zone. The enemy armor damage from the Striker's Battlegear 2 set is going to be awesome too. Obviously, you could maybe switch out for Sentry if there's a lot of PvP going on, but for the most part, you want to stick to that too, because it's going to benefit you more in the long run. Then, of course, your scavenging. Better loot is a good thing for a solo player. You're going to get less of it, so scavenging really does come into play. Finally, those that love the big booms, the skill power combinations. 4 Tacticians and 2 Sentry is the way that I would recommend people to go. Most of the people that build skill power usually go stamina on top. So 4,000 additional skill power is going to leave you a little bit more freedom inside of your firearms and stamina statting, the 20% skill haste with the better cooldowns, and of course with the Sentry you get 30% headshot damage, which is great. You can start focusing more on precision when you are obviously dealing less damage with your gun, because at this point you're worrying more about the boom damage and other elements to your skill build. So I think this is the way to go for those that love to run electronic skill builds, you know, BFBs, whatever. That's all I have for you guys. Understand these are my opinions, these are my recommendations. You can build however you like. That's the freedom and customization that you can add to your type of playstyle, and I think that's cool. Even 3 of the Sentry and 3 of the Battlegear will be an interesting combination. So even without those talents, you can still build some interesting ways. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to thumbs it up. Let me know if you guys have any other things to add to it, and let me know what is your favorite combination out of all of these. How are you going to be rocking out these sets when it drops?